You're listening to the Sass Says podcast. I'm your host, Christie Rocha, also known as Sass. I identify as a woman, a wife, and a mother. That should tell you a lot already. And over the last few years, I've learned the value of talk therapy. I have seen how my inner work not only enhances my own well-being, but also my marriage, my parenting, my relationships. And in fact, you wouldn't be hearing this right now if it weren't for the work I've done. My mission is to debunk the misconceptions and stigmas around what therapy is and who it's for. Let's normalize working on our mental health and seeking help when needed. We've all heard of self-care, self-help, and self-love, but do you often wonder how to actually make it all happen? I do. You'll hear strategy-based conversations with professionals, as well as inspiring and validating stories from women who are just like you and me. Think of this podcast as the weekly therapy sessions you didn't know you needed, with a dash of sass, a lot of vulnerability, and me, relentlessly asking, but how? Hello, welcome to the show. All right, so for Christmas, I got a couple of really great planners. One is Oprah's The Life You Want planner, and the other is the Phoenix Journal. I'm using both of them because they serve different purposes, and actually starting with the Oprah one first helped me to focus in on what I wanted to use the Phoenix one for. P.S. Thank you, Jisun, episode 44, for telling me about the Phoenix planner. It is right up my alley. I'm loving it. Thank you. Thank you. I would not have it if it not for you. All right, so the Oprah planner starts you off with the Wheel of Life. The Wheel of Life is a useful tool to help you step back and assess what areas of your life give you satisfaction and what areas could use a little more attention. All right, and so there's 12 different categories, and you rate yourself on a 1 to 10 of how you think you're doing in each of the categories. And it's a pretty cool little exercise. Then the 12 categories represent the focuses that you work through over the course of the planner. So it's a 52-week planner, but it's broken down into 12 sections based on these categories. So I determined that the top areas of need for me that are in need of attention are connection and gratitude. You then go on to create a mission statement, an intention, and a little vision board within the planner. I love mine. It's very cute. And then for each week, you set an intention. You're given a short journal prompt in relation to whatever, one of the 12 categories that you're focused on for that time period. You fill in a done list rather than a to-do list. And at the end of the week, there are reflection questions, check-ins, so on and so forth. I like it. I'm not really using it as a daily planner, although it is intended to be used that way, because I really keep most of that stuff on my phone right now, but I like the intention setting and the reflections. And even though this is a daily, weekly planner, it feels very big picture. You know that you're working within a 52-week structure. You can start it anytime it's not dated. But then that's where the Phoenix comes into play, because the Phoenix Journal is a very specific 12-week goal-setting journal. So you set 4 actionable, measurable, exciting, and challenging goals for yourself for a 12-week period. And this is a pretty hefty journal for 12 weeks. In fact, I think it is just as thick as the one that's meant for 52 weeks. So you can imagine how this journal breaks everything down. Intention, key action steps, milestones, reward systems, and very thought-provoking questions that will get you very specific about what you need to do to achieve these goals, what you need to sacrifice in order to achieve these goals, why you want to achieve them in the first place, how your life will improve when you do so, etc., etc. It starts you off kind of looking big picture, but then it's really breaking down those 4 specific goals over a 12-week period. So for the moment, this may change, but for the moment, I'm going to maintain my privacy on what my 4 goals are. But I use what I learned from Oprah's Wheel of Life that, two key areas that I want to look at this for now, I don't know, it's for the year, for whatever, are connection and gratitude. And I use that to help me set some more immediate goals with the Phoenix Journal. And I gotta say, I was feeling myself. I was impressed by how easily I filled in the pages of each journal. I set goals, I made vision boards, and when I say easily, I mean that I didn't overthink anything. I didn't need the writing to be perfect or the pen to be the right color or the magazine cutouts to be a day-long project. I just moved through the beginning phases of each of these journals as if I was never a perfectionist. And if you know me, you know that my planners and journals once were like something serious. They were gosh darn works of art, color-coded, highlighted. The same pen had to be used always. Sometimes there were fun stickers. I mean, they were beautiful and I loved it. Don't get me wrong. And these were during, high school and college when the planner was life. But what's really awesome about these for me now is that I think they're so beautiful, but for an entirely different reason. I really get excited to look through them and fill them out and think they are beautiful because of the content. And because every time I open it, I remember that I didn't procrastinate and I didn't let my sort of aesthetic craziness get in the way of the real work to be done. And that's a real moment for me. I'm not sure everyone listening is going to be able to relate to that, but yeah, I don't know, I'm really proud of myself. Anyway, I started these journals a couple weeks ago, but got really deep into them last week. And last week I was meant to travel, and I knew it was kind of silly to get started with real intention setting goals, actionable specific goals the week that I'm meant to travel, but I was really eager, and like I said, I was feeling myself and really proud of myself for how quickly I sort of moved through the beginning phases. So the week leading up to a planned long weekend away, of course my kids get sick. Like double ear infections, stomach bugs, diarrhea, sore throats, fevers, you name it, they had it. But I still did my best to keep up with the journals, even if filling them out meant writing in, I did not take this key action step today because I held a nearly 3-year-old in my arms all day. Yeah. Oh, I know what I was going to say about that. I was like, there's something else I want to say about that. Also, because some of my goals involve my kids, and some of them involve my kids being on a normal schedule and being in school. So, yeah, it was off. But I still kept it up. So then it came time for me to travel. I was still able to go, but I spent my entire vacation in the hotel room. Literally did not see anyone I was traveling with. I only left to go to CVS to pick up a prescription, strep throat. I have the worst eye infection I've ever encountered in my life. I don't know, just so many things fell off. Like the trip, obviously, the enjoyment of the trip, but the journaling, the action steps, the reflection questions, I haven't looked at any of that now in a week. And it's only today that I write this that I'm actually even able to look at a computer screen without pain in my eye. And what's interesting to me is that this is normally for me where I'd expect me to write something and feel something about how derailed I feel, how overwhelmed and how, quote unquote, set back I feel. But I don't. I understand that I got sick. My body needed rest. So that's what I did. And I'm sharing this because what's hitting me really hard this week is that none of these really awesome goals that I've set for myself, none of the journaling, the planning, the key action stepping can happen without a healthy body. I've spent the last 2 years plus so focused on my mental health, and even though I've been sick plenty of times over the last 2 years, this week it's really hitting me how I need to also be prioritizing my physical health. I for this eye infection, I ended up having to go to an eye doctor, and he's explaining to me how he normally treats eye infections when they're at a level 2, and he's like, you're already here, you're at a level 10. Like, this is as inflamed as an eye can get. And I'm telling him how I also had strep throat and I have congestion, and he's saying how great it is that I'm already on antibiotics, like an oral antibiotic, because that's going to help the eye and this and that. He's going to change my drops, and maybe I was allergic to the other drops and da 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 da. But he just at one point looked at me and said, you need to heal your body. In fact, I think he might have said, because I was talking about how my kids were sick and then I got sick, and he's like, yeah, Mama needs to heal her body. She needs to take a rest and heal her body. He's like, these drops I'm going to give you are going to work. He's like, but they're going to take time. And so is that antibiotic. And in the meantime, you need to heal your body. And it's just really sticking with me over the last day or so since I saw him that, yeah, I need to heal my body. And what does that mean, right? So for all the things that, for lack of a better word, I've gotten a little bit lazy with, I have to care about. Now, before I go further, to be fair to myself, hydrating and movement have always been in focus. And to be fair again, because if I can imagine my therapist hearing this, I know she would ask me, is it really lazy though? And no, it's not. Look, motherhood, wifehood, womanhood, for me, feels like a pretty constant state of prioritizing and juggling. And as I've tried over the last couple of years to put myself higher and higher on that priority list, some vital things have had to come off. Maybe not even intentionally, but they did. And so over the last 2 years, my mental health has kind of fallen off, right? Like, things to improve that needed to go higher, and now it's like, okay, we got to shift again. And okay, again, so like, what am I talking about? Like vitamins, okay? I give my kids vitamins. I fill up a little vitamin tray for my husband every week. Why don't I do it for myself? All the doctors this week have said, please try to boost your immune system with this, that. And I bought all of the things, and I've been taking them because I've been very sick. But why don't I do this for myself? I do it for everyone else in my house. It's so silly. Sleep, right? Of course, I can't anticipate when my kids will be up all night, but I can make sure that on a more regular basis, I'm going to bed at a decent hour so that if they are up, I'm better off. I have spent now years rebelling against sleep. I've spent years doing the whole, the time between my kids going to bed and me going to sleep is the only time I get for myself. So I want to utilize it. And it's all BS, right? Because if I'm sick because I'm not sleeping enough, I'm not utilizing any time. Okay. The next thing I'm thinking of is just like simple sanitizing things, I think the combination of the last few years of having newborns and then COVID and having to be so incredibly diligent for so long, I kind of got to a point where I was like, right? Like, oh my God, how many times can I wash my hands? How many times can I wipe down this doorknob and this faucet handle? And I just need to do it. The things that we touch in our house every day, the doorknobs, the handles, the faucets, the things like that, I just need to wipe them down more often. Regularly using hand sanitizer when I'm out in public, and not just on planes and in bathrooms, but to just always keep some on me wherever I am. Just sanitize your hands all the time. Like, I remember during really heavy COVID times, I couldn't even walk 2 feet without sanitizing my hands, and that was a little much, right? But there needs to be a happy medium. I've also decided that I'm no longer sharing cups. Even when we're all seemingly healthy, no more sharing cups. The second my kids' hands or lips touch my cup, that's it. It's going in the dishwasher. And look, I know me. I know I'm heightened right now because of this really sucky week and being this level of sick and feeling really powerless to do anything about it. And, I know I'm heightened and I know I will come down from this very heightened state. But certainly a middle ground needs to be found because, this is not worth it. The extra minutes every day that I haven't been wanting to take to wipe those handles down or to buy the extra, on-the-go sanitizers or to refill the vitamin thingy, they're not worth it. And if you could see my eye right now, you would tell me the same. So, heal your body. We talk all about healing our brain and all that. But this first message here is about healing your body, and just maybe a reminder that, especially if you have little kids that are bringing something new home every week from the daycare, man, bathe those kids in Purell. I don't know what to tell you, but I gotta make some changes. All right, so that's message 1. Message 2 is about mindset. Mindset we hear about all the time. Oh my God, mindset. And I'm a person who believes that mindset impacts your reality. And I was sharing with my therapist this week about how I was in the hotel room sick, saying to myself, okay, I'm going to take this medicine and I'm going to get a really good night's sleep and I'm going to wake up and I'm going to feel amazing and I'm going to enjoy my trip. And that's what's meant to happen. I was just meant to get here and ensure that I had at least one night's solid sleep before I went out with the group and started, partying and hanging out and doing all the things. And the next morning I woke up and that didn't happen. And I was like, okay, let's try this again. I was like, all right, universe, I am surrendering to this room. I'm trying to think about all the lessons I've learned from everyone on the show. And I was like, let's think more about acceptance. Let's think more about surrendering. And I'm like, okay, I'm surrendering to this hotel room. I don't care if I get better. I am not leaving. I am going to stay here and rest. But the deal is that I wake up feeling better tomorrow. Yeah, and that didn't happen. And I was explaining to my therapist that it felt like a little bit like of an angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. And it was like I was telling myself, I'm going to go to sleep and I'm going to feel great. And I'm going to da-da-da-da-da. But my immediate next thought was, in my head is that's probably not likely. You're really sick, and and I was saying to her, I'm like, I don't get that. I don't get how I can believe in the power of mindset and then be trying to actively shift it, but then at the same time have this other immediate subsequent thought that goes against what I'm trying to think. And she said to me, she goes, the brain is really good at calling its own BS. And she goes, and I want to say this, she goes, I want to say particularly your brain is very good at calling BS. She said, she's like, you don't live with your head in the clouds. You're very self-aware. And if you're really feeling that sick, there's just a logical part of you that knows that it's going to take time to heal. And so she's like, the part you're missing is really getting focused about the mindset in the moment rather than looking ahead to what the mindset is going to give you. It's talking to yourself in the moment. So instead of, okay, I'm going to get this rest and I'm going to feel great tomorrow, she's like, the shift needs could be, she would never say needs to be, but it could be more like, I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to rest in this hotel room, and I'm getting better every day, and I'm going to continue to get better, and all the things. And look, I have these mantras from childhood: better and better, gone, 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 and I say them, but I don't know, it just that hit. Like, I am always looking for the outcome. How many times have we heard me talk about my body and all the things? Like, I'm always looking for the outcome. I'm never accepting where I am. And it's so funny because it's like, I want to reach for the stars. Like, when I thought about, it's not that I didn't think about it, but when I thought about talking to myself while I was sick in that hotel room and saying, let's just start with like a little bit better. Let's not even shoot for well enough to enjoy your trip. Let's just start with a little bit better. My brain goes, well, why not? Like, why not shoot for all the way better? I could do that. Like, we have a little joke in our family, like us women, we're witches. We just make things happen. There's probably more context needed for that. But the joke is like, my mom has had a really powerful use of her brain and her willpower and her mindset for years, and things that you would never think possible, she has more or less manifested into reality. And I think my dad or whoever was just like, oh my God, like in the most loving way possible. Like, how is that real? Are you a witch? Are you casting spells? Like, what's going on? And so I have that in the back of my mind. And so I'm going, why can't I just manifest that I'm totally better? Let's shoot for that. But my brain is like calling BS on it. And I'm reminded of Adriana Keefe. She was talking to me about Manifesting 101, and she was saying about how she does her deal with manifesting money. And she's like, I'm telling you, don't try to start with manifesting $1 million in a week. Your brain is going to call BS. You cannot fake your frequency. I think that quote was Tara Burnett. But Adriana was saying, like, start with manifesting $10. When you manifest that $10, you're going to feel real good about yourself. And you're going to say, whoa, I just manifested $10. All right, then try for $50. When you get 50, awesome. Let's make it 100. And it's like, I'm forgetting this. It's like, I have to keep flexing the muscle and actually showing myself what my mind is capable of. So that at some point, using, say, the money example, I am so confident in my ability to manifest $10 that $50 is no problem. $100 is no problem. At some point, $1 million is no problem. And I am like relating it to this now with being sick and everything. It's like, oh, oh, okay. So it's practice, right? So maybe at some point I am so in tune with my mind and my body that I can heal myself overnight. Maybe I believe that's possible. But I'm not there yet because I don't really believe it in my core. I have to keep practicing. I have to, God, it keeps going back to that acceptance, right? I have to accept where I'm at, then try for a little bit more, see what's possible, see what I can do, and then keep climbing. All right. So I don't know if there's a nice little wrapped up message for number 2 here. I'm definitely still sorting it out, but I think it really just comes down to your brain, my brain, I'll speak for myself. My brain, like, I can't fool my own brain. So I got to take a step back, and I got to go back to some basics, I think, and maybe do what I do, read a little more, and exhaust myself of this until I finally get it, because I am making so much progress. I can feel it. Oh man, I talked myself out of a full-blown anxiety attack this weekend as well. And so progress is happening. Like, it's real. But that was an interesting lesson for me, is, again, I'm going to say it again, because if you recall, I had this revelation months ago when I was trying to figure out how, accepting where my body is not like a failure. It's not a surrender. So surrender is not the right word. What is the word? It's not a settling. That's it. And I felt like that's what I'm always so afraid to do, in accepting where I'm at with where I was with being sick and this and that my trip was not anything I expected it to be. I still almost like feel like it's a settling, and that's definitely a block. I have a block there because it's not. All right, you can hear that I'm processing this still in real time. And since I threw it out there that I talked myself out of an anxiety attack, I will just share that on the flight home, I was, in the airport, like, feeling horrible. All I wanted was tea. My throat hurt so bad. None of the medication I was on seemed to be working, which was freaking me out. And we're boarding the plane, and there's a lot of stops on the, what do you call it? When you go past the gate and you're on the ramp thing, but you're not on the plane yet. And it was really hot. I'm drinking hot tea. We have to wait, and I am looking at the walls closing in on me, and I'm starting to freak out in my head, and I'm talking to myself, and I'm like, okay, it's okay. You're just hot. And then, and I'm telling myself, you just have to get on the plane. And I'm like, well, what do you think is going to happen when you get on the plane? You're going to be in an even more confined space. You're going to be, even more hot, and like nothing gets better when you get on the airplane. And any hint of claustrophobic thoughts that I have ever had are coming into play. And so we start walking again, and literally they stop me to let people like fill in right as I'm staring at the plane door. And I'm staring at the plane door, and I'm going, you've done this 100 times. It's never bothered you. What is bothering you right now? I was like, I'm sick. I'm hot. I'm dreading this flight. I think that I'm going to be very uncomfortable, and there's nothing I can do about it. And I was like, immediately, well, what can I do about it? I can ask the flight attendants to, quote unquote, give me a minute, like whatever that meant. I thought I was going to ask people for a minute. Like, I just need a minute to like breathe. But I'm looking around, and I'm like, there's nowhere to breathe. There's nowhere to breathe. There's nowhere to go. I'm like, so that's not an option. And you're going to hold up this whole flight. It's going to be a whole thing. You're going to freak out your husband. Like, just stop. And I was like, you're going to get on the flight. You're going to find your seat. You're going to sit down. And I knew from flying out that, part of the in-flight entertainment was they had like Spotify playlists. And I was like, you're going to sit down, and you're going to find like a meditation Spotify playlist that you can put on. And you're going to put your little air conditioner on. And if you need to, you're going to ask for water. And I went on the plane, and I sat down. And honestly, the thing that kind of like broke my thoughts was that I put my tea down on my husband's seat next to me while I was like fidgeting my stuff. And of course it spilled over, and of course it spilled out onto the seat. And I just looked, and I was like, I am so sorry. The flight attendant was right there. She got us napkins, but it was like enough of a mix up and like a distraction for me to kind of come out of it. And I put that Spotify playlist on, and it was actually a great flight. I watched Rudy I hadn't seen Rudy in forever, and it was quick. It was quicker than on the way out there, and it was cool once we got on the plane, and I actually came off the flight feeling a little bit better than I went on. So, anyway, kudos to me. All right, that's it. I will talk to you next time. I hope you have a great week, and that's all I've got. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Sass Says is a production of Luann Nigara, Inc. This podcast is meant to be educational and not meant to replace professional therapy or professional medical attention. To learn more about today's show and what's new in my world, head over to sasssays.com. Thanks so much. Talk later.